Hello, everyone. I'm the Scarred Storyteller, and I'm here to help you unwind today. If you're using this video to fall asleep, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel before you drift off. By the way, where are you watching from, and what time is it for you? Now, get cozy, relax, and let's begin. The forest was ancient, a tangle of gnarled trees and oppressive silence. Locals called it Black Hollow, a place shunned even in daylight. But it wasn't daylight when Vincent found himself standing at its edge, clutching a map that wasn't his. The map had arrived that morning, slipped beneath the door of his dingy motel room. He hadn't planned to be in this town at all, but his car had broken down the night before, stranding him in Hollow Creek, a town so small it barely warranted a dot on the map. The repair shop wouldn't open until Monday. It was Friday. He was stuck. The map, drawn in delicate, spidery ink, depicted the forest and a single path winding through it to a location marked with an X. Beneath the X, a single word: sanctuary. The motel's clerk, a withered old woman with watery eyes, had warned him off the forest. "Nothing there but shadows," she'd said, her voice trembling. "Shadows that remember." But Vincent was curious. And restless. He couldn't explain the pull of the map, the way his fingers tingled when he touched the paper. By dusk, he was at the forest's edge, the map in one hand, a flashlight in the other. The first mile was uneventful, though the air grew colder and heavier the deeper he went. The beam of his flashlight carved a narrow path through the darkness, illuminating roots and fallen branches. The path itself was unnervingly clear, as if something or someone had recently swept it clean. Vincent told himself it was the wind. Then came the whispers. Soft at first, barely audible over the crunch of his boots. He stopped, straining to hear. The sound faded, replaced by the mournful creak of trees swaying in a wind he couldn't feel. He walked on, but the whispers returned, louder this time, skittering through the air like dry leaves. They weren't words, at least not any he recognized, but they carried intent, a low, insistent beckoning. He quickened his pace, heart thudding. The path twisted and turned, the map clutched tightly in his hand. He glanced down at it, only to find the inked lines shifting, the path writhing like a living thing. He blinked, and it was still again. But the X seemed closer now, almost pulsing with a faint glow. He stumbled upon the first marker a mile later, a circle of stones, each carved with strange, jagged symbols. The stones were slick, as if freshly wet, though no rain had fallen. In the center of the circle lay a single black feather, unnaturally large. Vincent's chest tightened as he stared at it, an inexplicable dread creeping up his spine. "Turn back," a voice whispered behind him. He spun, the flashlight slicing through the darkness. No one was there. Only the trees, their twisted branches reaching like skeletal fingers. His breath came in ragged gasps as he forced himself to move forward. He didn't notice the feather rising from the stones to drift silently after him. The second marker was a rusted gate, standing alone in the forest. It led nowhere, flanked by two crumbling statues of cloaked figures. Their faces were worn away, but their postures conveyed anguish, their heads bowed, hands raised as if to shield themselves. The gate's iron bars were etched with words in a language Vincent couldn't decipher. He hesitated, the whispers swelling to a fever pitch. Something told him crossing the threshold would be irreversible. But the map pulsed in his hand, urging him on. He stepped through. The forest changed. The air was thick and humid now, clinging to his skin like a second layer. The trees loomed closer, their bark etched with deep grooves that resembled faces, screaming silently. The path beneath his feet squelched, as though he were walking on flesh. His flashlight flickered, its beam growing weaker with each step. He reached the third marker at the stroke of midnight, a well, its stone rim slick with moss. The map led directly to it, the X now glowing so brightly it hurt to look at. Vincent approached cautiously, peering over the edge. The darkness within was impenetrable, but the whispers were deafening now, echoing up from the depths. "Sanctuary," a voice hissed, clear and sharp. It was neither male nor female, but something in between, a voice that seemed to burrow into his mind. "You've come so far. Finish it?" His hands trembled as he held the map over the well. The ink bled, dripping onto the stone and vanishing. The voice laughed, a sound like shattering glass. "Look inside." Compelled by a force he couldn't resist, Vincent leaned over the edge. The flashlight slipped from his grip, tumbling into the darkness. He watched its beam spiral downward, illuminating the well's slick walls. Then it hit bottom and the light went out. The forest went silent. Oppressively so. Vincent straightened, his heart hammering. The map was gone, disintegrated into ash in his hands. The path behind him had vanished, replaced by an unbroken wall of trees. "Sanctuary," the voice repeated, mocking now. "Welcome home." He turned in circles, panic rising. The well began to groan, a deep, guttural sound that reverberated through the ground. From its depths came a shape, shifting and fluid, blacker than the night around it. Eyes, dozens of them, opened across its surface, unblinking and hungry. Vincent ran. The forest was a maze, the trees closing in, their branches clawing at his skin. The whispers became screams, filling his ears, his mind. He tripped, falling hard, and when he looked up, the gate was before him. But the statues had moved. Their heads were raised now, their hollow faces staring directly at him. Their hands reached out, fingers curling. Vincent scrambled back, but the ground beneath him gave way, pulling him down into darkness. When he awoke, he was standing at the edge of Black Hollow, the map in his hand. The X glowed faintly, and beneath it, a new word had appeared. Home. Vincent turned back toward the forest, his lips curling into a smile that wasn't his own. And as he stepped into the shadows, the trees seemed to welcome him, their branches parting like old friends.